Hello everyone and welcome back to One Autistic Person. Today I'm going to be doing a video about another questionnaire that can be found on Embrace Autism, the website. This one is the Camouflaging Autistic Traits questionnaire, so the CATQ it's called. I didn't actually do this as part of my diagnosis process officially, but I did do it as part of my own self-diagnosis process, and it was quite a telling one. I think this is an interesting one to look at because I thought that masking was sort of an active thing that autistic people did originally. Originally, that's what I thought. Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're putting a mask on. But actually, I think camouflaging kind of works better to an extent because things in the wild don't mask, but there are things in the wild that camouflage themselves and to protect themselves. And I think that is what we're doing. I think we are camouflaging ourselves in a natural way, socially as social beings. That we have to camouflage ourselves to protect ourselves. It is a defense mechanism, and I'd not really understood that properly until I did this test and sort of looked at these 25 statements and saw why they were asking them, and also what my answers to these were, because that was fascinating what my answers were to them, because I realised how much I'd been masking without having any clue that I was. Because I just thought that everybody thought the way that I thought, that all of these things that were going on in my life and how I was interacting with people, that's just how everyone did it. I truly believed that everybody struggled as much as I did, just nobody talked about it. And because I used to think, why is everyone going along with this? It's so difficult to do. Why are all these people just continuing to live in this really difficult way of living? Because I assumed everybody felt the same way that I did. That this was a normal way of normal, horrible word, a common way of thinking. And well, I thought it was a universal way of thinking, and not just a common. I thought it was a universal way of thinking. So yeah, with this questionnaire, it asks questions about how you interact within social situations, and it's really interesting to look at and to sort of do as a test. And I think if you are looking to get an autism assessment, I would say to do this, because it will highlight it for you, because it might not be part of your diagnosis process. It wasn't part of mine, but I think it's really interesting for you to be able to look at your own behaviours and the way that you camouflage, mask, how you are in social situations. I think it allows you to look at that in a little bit more depth, maybe in a way that you've never looked at it before, and sort of realising that maybe those things that you do or think aren't necessarily what other people are doing and thinking, because that was the biggest thing for me. Was the thing straight away for me was realising that this isn't how a lot of people think. Otherwise there wouldn't be this or act or have to deal with social situations. Because of the fact, if that is the case, then why are they asking the questions? And then sort of conversations that I've then had with other people since, where I've been much more open about this, about my thought process during the diagnosis process when I was self-diagnosing. It made me realise that this isn't how most people think about social interactions. It's not how most people feel when they're in social situations. And I realised, actually, no, this isn't people just pretending. I'm being really open and honest with these people and saying that this is the way I feel, and they're actually saying, no, that I've never felt like that. That's not how I feel. I might feel awkward in a social situation. I might feel like I messed up in a social situation, but I certainly don't feel to the extent that you do, and I don't practice and all of those things. I have no scripts. I don't practice social situations. I don't have to decompress after them. All of the things that you sort of have conversations with people about when you start to realise, and it's like, okay, so yeah, maybe I am right with this, and maybe I am autistic. It was sort of the camouflaging side of it that I think made me realise that I probably was, because I was like, I've got this good job where I have to go out and see people, so if I can do that, then that must mean I'm not autistic, because masking wasn't really a concept for me. So because I just thought I wouldn't be able to do that. I had a very narrow view of autism prior to my researching of autism and realising that was me. So I'm going to make myself small like I did in the previous video, and then I will see you in just a second. So I think that's done that. So there's 25 statements on this, and we have answers A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So 7 different answers, I believe. Yeah, 7 different answers. And they are strongly disagree, disagree, somewhat disagree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat agree, agree, or strongly agree. They are statements that you're saying about yourself in this, obviously, and answering with one of those 7 answers. So let's start. One, when I am interacting with someone, I deliberately copy their body language or facial expressions. So with this one, I would say agree. I do most of the time. It's not all of the time. I can't say that it is all of the time, but I do quite often. Certainly in situations where it's awkward, or situations when I don't know the people so well. Actually, I would say let's flip it round rather than trying to say it's especially in ones. It wouldn't be as much in things like with my best friend, with the person I live with my mum, with people I know very, very well and spend a lot of time with and trust a lot. Other than that, yes, I would literally. I've felt myself do it, especially again after I'd done this. I started looking at my behaviours even more, and I remember being in an interview, doing an interview with one of my team were doing the interview with me, and I was copying her body language throughout the whole thing, rather than the other way around. It was strange, and then I was seeing that, that made me realise that I was crossing my legs when somebody else's legs were crossed. I'd like hold my arms the same way that person did. I'd smile when that person smiled. I would move forward. Just every little interaction, I would copy. So yeah, I do agree with it. It probably could be a strongly agree, but I just think that would mean that I do it all the time, and there are times when I don't feel the need to do it. I always feel awkward, don't get me wrong, but so 2, I monitor my body language or facial expressions so that I appear relaxed. I'd strongly agree. I do that all the time. I do it. I'm doing it now. I do it. I'm very aware of what my face is doing, and I am also very aware of the fact that I constantly feel anxious, so I don't want to look anxious to the people around me, and that even includes people I'm around that I care about or I'm close to, because I don't want them to think that I'm not relaxed, that I am on edge. I'm not really on edge. It's just that I'm feeling disorientated, or I'm feeling dysregulated, or something's going on with me at any given time, usually from a sensory perspective, that I probably don't look relaxed, and I know that, but I don't want other people to feel like I'm not relaxed. So yeah, I definitely do that quite often. Certainly with my facial expressions, I tend to try to make it look like I'm relaxed, because I can sort of scrunch myself up quite a lot, and I'm asked quite a lot, "Are you okay?" I also ask a lot of people if they're okay all the time as well, because I can't read their faces. 3, I rarely feel the need to put on an act in order to get through a social situation. Strongly disagree. I have to put on an act. I always have to put on an act to do it. So I'm always performing pretty much. In any given social situation, I would say even to a small extent, I am putting on an act with the people that are closest to me, because I don't think I truly know who I am in a social situation. So I have to put on this persona of probably a lot of different people that I've seen in my life, who I feel try to copy the people in a given situation that dealt with it well. So at a party, I'd be like a certain person that was from my past. In a work situation, I'd be like my favourite boss. In a shopping situation, I'd probably sort of mirror my friend when I was growing up, who was very good. Who was very good with she worked in customer service, so she was also very good with people who worked in customer service. So I feel like I'm acting like her when I'm in a shop situation. But any interaction, even saying thank you to somebody, feels like it's an act. So even saying that it's not, and I mean it when I'm saying it, but I feel like I am putting a voice on, and I have to be somebody else, even to just say thank you to somebody when they do something for me in a shop. So yes, strongly disagree with that because I don't rarely feel that. I feel it all the time. I have developed a script. I've developed a script to follow in social situations. Strongly agree. So I have a script, I suppose, to how I deal with social situations. Minimal amount of sort of communication possible, but as well as that, I have so I'll have my work. This is how my work script will go. This is how my home, not necessarily home, because I don't necessarily do it at home. I do if it's difficult. If it's a difficult conversation, I will. It's very scripted. But at work, work's the best way of describing it. I think that I have this sort of the way that I will perform something. So I have the performance side of it, and the script side would probably be that I practice over and over and over again what I'm going to say before I go into that conversation. Sometimes to the detriment of having that conversation later, because I feel like I've already had it, because I've gone through every single possible scenario. And not only do I script myself, but I script the other person. And I can spend a few, if I know I've got to have not even a difficult conversation, just a one-to-one conversation with somebody, I will plan it out over and over again, and I will think about every possible reaction from the other person. So yeah, I definitely do that, and it's absolutely tiring. I will repeat phrases that I have heard others say in exactly the same way I heard them. I strongly agree. I don't, because I don't do this all the time. Otherwise, I'd be doing it now. But I will repeat something somebody has said in a way that I think. So if I have witnessed my boss say something in a way that I felt was strong, I will repeat it exactly the way that she did. This has got me into hot water with people accidentally, and I've apologised straight away and they've been fine about it, but I've accidentally copied somebody's accent when I've done this. To me, this is an echolalia thing. So if people don't know what echolalia is, it is where you do this, that you repeat things exactly the way that you heard them in the rhythm, or you change it and you repeat the same thing over and over again. So it's either repeating what somebody else says or repeating something you've said over and over again, but it's the repetitiveness of it. And I do this quite often. I've done it I do it with TV shows where I will say what I know, loads of sort of quotes from TV stuff that I do all the time. Say it just to myself randomly. There's monologues that from certain things where I know the whole monologue, but I say it in exactly the same way, or I think I'm saying it in exactly the same way. It feels like it's exactly the same way. Sometimes it's not quite. It doesn't quite fit, because it might be that their voice is slightly different to mine. So I don't feel like I am fully copying them, but I try my best to. So yeah, basically the answer to this is yes, I do this. I do this both in real life and when I'm taking things from TV. I adjust my body language. So this is question 6, sorry. I adjust my body language or facial expression so that I appear interested by the person I am interacting with. I strongly agree to this. So even when I am interested, I can quite often not have, I know I cannot have a facial expression. I know people ask me quite often whether I'm okay or if I'm still listening, or I know that so I'm aware of the fact that I don't make as much eye contact as what people feel comfortable with. The irony in that is I feel extremely uncomfortable with giving eye contact, but I will give people eye contact. It does mean that I won't pay as much attention, but I know that it can be a problem for people. That I don't necessarily look at somebody, that I will look away from somebody rather than look at them, so I can actually hear them and I can focus on what they're saying. Sometimes even close my eyes so that I can hear what the person's saying. And so actually some of the things that I do could be very much what you would expect somebody who is bored to do. Like, I put my head back and close my eyes quite often when people are talking, and I think people seem to think that that's me not listening, like me going, oh, but I'm not. I'm doing it because that, for me, is helpful from a sensory perspective. I'm covering my eyes aren't open, so I've got no sight sensory, and it means that my ears are a good angle. I don't know why that's a good angle, but it seems to be a good angle. And my neck is supported, so that I'm not going to be moving my head around too much. So I'm actually paying attention when I do that. I'll hear everything you say. Yet I think a lot of people feel that that is me getting bored and wanting to be out of the situation. It's actually me going deeper into it. So to any of my friends that are watching this, if I ever do this, work colleagues, not friends, but if I ever do this, then it means that I'm listening to you. In social situations, I feel like I am performing rather than being myself. We've already covered this under the putting on an act side of things, but yeah, I definitely feel like I'm performing. I feel like I have to be a different person in different situations because I don't really know. One, I don't know how people are going to take me for the person I think I am, and actually I'm not even really sure who I am, and I'm still... So at the moment I am doing this a lot. I'm trying to do this a lot less. I'm not saying I do it a lot less. I'm doing it less in situations where I feel safe doing so, but I'm finding that is meaning that I am more direct with people, and that I do say things that people are confused by, or not necessarily offended, but just confused by what I'm saying, and that's... But I'm finding I'm hearing that of the other people that I'm with a lot more in that situation. Whereas before, because I was performing, I wasn't really hearing what they were saying, and I was I wasn't really responding fully to them, and I wasn't retaining as much information. Whereas actually, I might be confusing people more with what I'm saying when I'm not performing, but I am retaining more information that they've given me, or more context to what they're saying, maybe, rather than just taking the thing verbatim and asking. I am finding I'm then asking more questions because of the fact that I'm being myself more. So it's not working very often. I don't do it hugely. It's only very, very, very limited circumstances at the moment. I have to feel very safe to do it, but I still very much am performing. But I am trying at home not to do it, because I did do it a lot at home, and with my mum and with my friend. I do it I did it pretty much in every area of my life. I had to even just have a conversation. Generally, I'd perform, whereas now I am allowing myself to be myself a lot more. So the monologuing and the sort of when I'm jumping all over the place, I'm allowing myself to do that a lot more rather than controlling it and pretending to be somebody else. And I am feeling much, much better because of that. So yes, is the answer to that. In social situations, I feel like I am performing rather than being myself. I feel like I'm never really in it. Like it's never really me that's having that conversation. It's somebody else. It does feel like it's like this, an out of body. Social situations either feel like an out of body situation, as in I feel like I'm floating around and not really there, or I feel that heavy that I feel like I'm so inside my body that I want to explode out of it. So it depends on the social situation, I think. Neither of them the most pleasant of feelings. In my own social interactions, I use behaviours that I have learned from watching other people interacting. Yeah, definitely. So people from my past. I even sometimes will, in a situation like if I'm in a restaurant or something like that, I found myself that I will, if I can see that somebody else's body language seems to be something that looks like it's intriguing other people, I will copy them. In a really difficult, if it's a new situation, if it's a new social situation with new people, I definitely will copy the people around me. But I will also try to imitate my friend from when I was younger, who had so much confidence, and I would. So I will try and follow her lead on things, on sort of the way that she acted, the way she leaned into people. I feel like I want to lean back, so she always used to lean in to talk to people. She would make eye contact and things like that. So yeah, definitely from learning from my friend when I was younger, she seemed to always be able to deal with things really well socially, and I never was. She was kind of like my social butterfly that was always around me and helped me with any kind of social situation. And I've realised that now, that she always used to do all the socialising, and I was just there enjoying the socialising but not having to be part of it. And she was always protective, and I didn't realise how protective she was of me until very recently. I always think about the impression I make on other people. I'd say agree, pretty much all the time. It's not all the time, but I do find this a lot, that I will ruminate about impressions that I've made on somebody, and I always think it's negative. actually, I'm going to say strongly agree to this. I'm going to change this. I ruminate massively over this. So yeah, I can even think it within, like, I'll come off the phone from my mum, and sometimes I'll think that I've done something to the impression I've given my mum on the phone that day is bad, or the person I live with, or my friend, or my best friend will, we will. I'll have conversations with them, and then afterwards feel like I've done something wrong in it, and I will think, oh, I've messed up, and I usually haven't. I have sometimes, but most of the time, either I haven't messed up, or they're not bothered. But I do, yeah, definitely think about, yeah, it's definitely strongly agree. I can really ruminate over it and get very, very distressed by what I think people's impression of me is. And I think that's because of the fact that I do want to put out this persona of who I am, or that I am, that I'm not, that I'm a person that I want other people to be around, but I also feel like I'm not a person that people want to be around. So I think it's that. I think it's a historic thing. It's a historic trauma thing of being autistic when you're younger and not having friends and being bullied and all of that. I just feel like it's always going to happen over and over again, and it's only a matter of time before I slip up and the impression changes. 10. I need the support of other people to socialise, in order to socialise. Yeah, absolutely. I can't even go to the shop really on my own without somebody. Work has become increasingly difficult. I don't particularly like going to work to even socialise there. So when we're talking about socialising, I can deal with it from a work perspective because I know I've got to do it. I have no choice. It's the way I get money. But from an actual social, if I was to go to a party, I would have to have somebody with me that I trusted to be there with me and to get me out of it as well. That's the other thing, to get me out of the situation if I'm feeling overwhelmed. Then I need somebody who understands the fact that I might just turn around and say, I need to go, I can't do this. I've been to the cinema and gone, I can't do this. I've gone to go and have something to eat and I've said I can't do this. And it needs to be somebody for me that will understand that, and luckily everybody in my life understands that. So, but that is because I have a very restricted group of people in my life. So I imagine it's much more difficult to have that if you have a bigger group of friends that there might be some that get it and some that don't. So yeah, I definitely need to have other people in order to socialise. Without other people there, it's limited to hi, thank you, goodbye, as in going into a shop. If I have to ask for something in a shop, I get very, very panicky. So, yeah, that's definitely I strongly agree. I practice my facial expressions and body language to make sure I look natural. Yes, so definitely strongly agree. I used to do it a lot more when I was younger. So I used to actually look in the mirror and I used to say happy, sad, angry, frustrated. I used to say lots of. I read something. I think it was something when you were at school. You read. I remember there being a piece of paper. It had different faces, and you had to say what the different. I'm talking primary school here, so I'm talking 6-7 years old, and I remember the faces were human faces. They weren't like emoji ones or anything, but they had different emotions on it, and we'd had to go through that. And I remember we had it, and I could take it. We were able to take it home with us, and I remember practicing it in the mirror, how they did it. And I think I still do that now, but I will practice it myself before I go. So again, when I was talking about the scripting earlier and going through what I'm going to say, I would also do the body language and my facial expressions of what I was going to. So if it was something that was shocked, I would go, oh, and so I'd know that that's what facial expression I would need to do. I have to kind of remind myself that I need to have a facial expression for something because it doesn't come naturally. I didn't again realise that I did this until I did this questionnaire and going through the autism diagnosis assessment. I didn't realise quite how much I was doing these things, because it's just something. It became part of my daily routine, or part of my routine whenever I was going into a social situation to practice it. That was something that I've been doing since, like I say, since I was 6-7 years old. I probably was doing it earlier than that, but I was very quiet prior to that. So I probably didn't do it as much. But that I remember that being a catalyst for me to understand my emotions, or to understand how I should react, should I say. and obviously that had come with a class where we'd had a discussion around emotions and things. So that was I had to learn about those things, but I actually just needed to tell my face those things as well, and I did that for years afterwards. I would, and like I say, now I practice those. I practice whatever face I'm going to do in a scripted situation. If I am practicing that script of any social situation that I've got coming. 12. I don't feel the need to make eye contact with other people if I don't want to. Right, so I'm going to say neither agree nor disagree to this. So I do feel like I have to, and I do, but I don't want to. So this is a really weirdly worded question, as a lot of them are in these questionnaires. So I don't feel the need to make eye contact with other people if I don't want to. So I'm going to say neither agree or disagree, because I don't feel the need to, and I don't want to often, but I'm forcing myself to do it. So I've got to put neither agree nor disagree to that one, because I kind of don't get the question as part of this, because it's kind of the question kind of answers itself, saying I don't feel the need to make eye contact with people if I don't want to. Not feeling that you want to is that you don't want to. So yeah, to me that question is a bit of a difficult one to answer, and so therefore going to put neither agree nor disagree. Please tell me if I'm reading that question wrong. I have to force myself to interact with people when I am in a social situation. So this is question 13. So I have to force myself to interact with people when I am in a social situation. Strongly agree. If I am at a work do, so I can sometimes go away and stay away with the other regional managers in a hotel. As I've said in other videos, if I've had a bit of social lubricant, then I am much better, and I can talk quite freely. But that's after probably the second glass of wine for me to be able to get to that point of doing that. The first one actually makes me often recede a lot more. But I have to force myself into doing it, and I can often sound like I'm being quite abrupt, because and people can sometimes go that sort of like, oh, Jason, that was a bit harsh, and it's because I've just been brutally honest about something, and but I find that what I'm doing is mirroring everybody else there as well, or mirroring the people that I respect in my group of people. I will mirror them, and I kind of feel like I often take on their opinion, even though I don't necessarily agree with their opinion. So yeah, I have to force myself to interact. Yeah, so definitely, strongly agree. 14. I've tried to improve my understanding of social skills by watching other people. So this is a strongly agree situation. I definitely have taken on my understanding of social skills by watching the other people around me. I often mirror other people, and I do have a sort of set of people in my head that I go back to sort of see that this is a positive way of interacting, and usually because I've seen that they've had positive interactions with other people, so then I try to mirror them. So yeah, and I try to do it within whatever situation it is in. So from a work situation, I will take on board what people have done in a work situation, and in a social situation, I'll do what other people have done in a social situation. So yeah, definitely agree with that one. I monitor my body language or facial expressions so that I appear interested by the person I am interacting with. That's asking the same question that's already been asked. Yes, I totally strongly agree to that. I do it all the time. That is really strange. That is basically the same question, just worded ever so slightly differently. I wonder whether this one tries to catch you out by maybe asking a question differently, that you might answer it differently. I don't know. When in social situations, so this is question 16. When in social situations, I try to find ways to avoid interacting with others. We've already had these questions. It's basically asking the same questions over and over again. Strongly agree. I definitely do. I try my best to avoid having any social conversations whatsoever. For me, I try to find like safe spaces in the place where I am. So obviously a toilet is a really easy way of doing that, and I will go to the toilet quite often in a social situation. Not necessarily because I need to go, but I want to be away. I mean, quite sometimes I can actually feel like I need to go to the toilet, and then I don't really need to go to the toilet. I think it's my body's way of going, get out of the situation. But then I'll try and find other places. Like I'll find a little nook where I don't think anybody else will go outside or anything like that. So I tend to have somewhere where I will try and find somewhere where other people won't go. Obviously, the toilet is the easiest way for that, and obviously if I'm staying in a hotel, I can nip back up to my room. But yeah. I will try to have somewhere that I can go and stay away from people, so that I don't have to interact with others. Because obviously going to the toilet, a lot of people then get concerned about that. So yeah, I try and have somewhere where you can go where you can just chill. I usually try to find somewhere outside unless it's too cold, because I can just breathe and cool down if it's hot. Reevaluate my sensory overload situation at that point. Question 17. I have researched the rules of social interactions to improve my own social skills. Again, we've already answered this one. Yes, I have. I don't know whether I've directly done it. I suppose I have. How do people react in these situations? I have searched that before, especially when I was younger, and I've looked at, and like I say, with the emotions thing that I had in school, I think I paid much more attention to that. I was very interested in the human body when I was younger, and one of the things was the nervous system and how we responded. That I was quite interested in. So I say quite interested. I was extremely interested in. So yeah, and I was also interested in psychology. So and social sciences. I was very because I studied sociology, and I studied anthropology at A level, which were both really interesting subjects for me. So I feel like that is me researching social rules, rules of social interactions, but by looking at that, those two. Yeah. So yeah, I've just done it, maybe not in a the most direct way, but also by watching things like Big Brother when I was younger. I think that was also very much about looking at how social situations happen. I was always really interested in the social dynamic of the house, and how people on the outside reacted and stuff like that. Anyway, I could go on for ages about Big Brother, because I was really interested in it from a psychology perspective when I was studying psychology. So it's a fascinating program to me. Anyway, that is completely diverting from things, but I do feel like that did add to my social interaction rule research. But like I say, studying all of those things probably was research. Like, pick one social science and stick with it. Question 18. I am always aware of the impression I make on other people. I neither agree nor disagree. So when it says I'm always aware of the impression I make on other people, really bad way of wording the question, because I am not aware of what it is. I worry about it. I worry about the impression that I make on other people. I don't think I am aware of what that impression is. Hyper aware. Maybe actually maybe we put somewhat agree to that, actually, because I think it means more, am I aware, as in have I paid attention to it, have I picked up on social cues that would say that how I'm, the impression I make on other people. So yeah, I would say somewhat agree, because I find the question a bit difficult to swallow. I don't find it's helpful. I feel free to be myself when I'm around other people. Absolutely not. I very rarely feel that I'm free to be myself. And that even goes with the people close to me. That I still don't always feel like I can be myself around everybody. I try, and most of the time with the person I live with my mum and my best friend, I say those people all the time, because they're the three people that are in my life that really these things should be easier with. But I actually find myself not necessarily feeling free to be myself around everybody all the time. So yeah, and I think this is talking generally around other people. I don't think it's talking about a very narrow three people that I happen to have in my life who are very close to me. So I would say strongly agree. As we've said before, I feel like I'm another person. I feel ethereal. I feel like I'm not necessarily, or cerebral is it maybe? I'm not quite sure what the correct terminology is there, but that I don't necessarily feel like I am me. I feel like I am in a social situation that I am running on acting power that comes from somewhere else. I'm acting on my thought process. Clearly it's me, but I'm acting on a prescribed way that I feel I should act in any given social situation. 20. I learn how people use their body and faces to interact by watching television films or by reading fiction. Yes. So I kind of realised this a lot more after doing this questionnaire, that I will watch things and their social interactions are how I want to be, and I look at how they are with each other. So I was watching the OC the other day. Went through watching the OC again, one of my going back nostalgia binges, and I just noticed how they all sort of, when they were talking with each other, all seemed so relaxed and laid back, and it's like, I don't get like that. I never get. They've got this big group of friends, but not even their group of friends. It's like, just in general, when somebody else walks in, they're okay. They're just there, chilled. And I wish I can remember thinking, I wish I could do that, and I don't. Apart from, again, those three people, I don't believe that I can be that, and I still struggle even with those three people to be that chilled. So I think I learn how people do that, whether I can use it and whether I can be that person. I suppose I can, because I try. I do. I actually do it sometimes as well. I will watch something and I'll feel that person coming out in me. That it feels like I'm copying them to an extent. Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah. It probably means that's the reason why I then talk about that TV program over and over again. I adjust my body. So this is question 21. I adjust my body language or facial expressions so that I appear relaxed. Well, that's a strongly agree, because we already had that. I don't think I need to cover that question again. When talking to other people, I feel like the conversation flows naturally. Strongly disagree. I don't feel like conversation is at all, even when other people say. So quite often I will have I'll have a meeting with my line manager on Teams while the person I live with is around. And I will really think that the conversation was clunky, it was stop and start, that I felt like I felt like it had all gone wrong. And he will say to me, it wasn't, it flowed great. So even if, so it says, I feel like the conversation flows naturally. I never feel like any conversation I ever have with anybody flows naturally. Again, unless I've had that social lubricant situation, or it's that I'm monologuing, but then that isn't a conversation flowing. That's me talking at someone. So I can talk at someone and that flows quite well, but flow of conversation is rare. It's very rare, and I'd say it was only really with, again, those three people that I've said about, and even that can sometimes feel clunky to me. So definitely disagree. When talking to people, I do not feel like the conversation flows naturally at all. I have spent time learning social skills from television shows, films, and try to use these in my interactions. Strongly agree. So there's a lot of repetitiveness in this questionnaire. I feel like it is trying to really definitely pin down that is the case. In social interactions, I do not pay attention to what my face or body are doing. Strongly disagree. I definitely do. So yeah, I'm constantly feeling it. I'm more aware of it actually now that I've had my autism assessment, and I was saying earlier on that I was having a conversation with my boss, and I felt my mask drop. I can feel it now. My face kind of goes, because I know I'm moving my face more than I usually do now, and also it feels like when it stops, when it goes back to its natural form of not being a mask, not camouflaging, it kind of goes cold and tingly for a few seconds, and then I realise that it's changed, and I think it's because now I realise that's what's happening. I think when that used to happen, I used to then over exaggerate them, whereas now I just go, oh, that's what it is. It does stop me in my tracks a little bit. It does stop me in my tracks a little bit, and I do get a little bit discombobulated afterwards. But yeah, it's quite interesting that I kind of now feel like I can feel it happen. And I think it might be because I don't want to correct it, and therefore I just go, oh, that's it. That's going to be the way it is. Okay, last question. In social situations, I feel like I am pretending to be normal. Absolutely. I strongly agree. I felt this before, like I was saying at the beginning of the video. I definitely felt like before I had my diagnosis, before I understood camouflaging, masking, whatever we want to call it, before I fully understood it, I just thought everybody went through these struggles and everybody felt the same way internally, and there was this internal battle between it, and I just didn't understand why people wanted to live in a world where this was so difficult. Why is there so many people that wanted to do this? Why have we created this? And it was kind of like, is this because we've put social pressures on ourselves for so long? I overthought it, obviously, that we've put social pressures on things for so long that we've got stuck in thinking this way. And now I've realised that obviously that's not the case. That I am autistic, and therefore my neurology is different to the majority of the population, and therefore I think differently. So, yes, definitely, I do feel like I need to pretend to be normal in situations. So, let's get the score. So, that's 162, which is the total. Compensation subtotal is 61. Masking subtotal is 51. And assimilation is 50. So, what does that mean? Let's go all the way up here. I feel like it. Scoring range is between 25 and 175. Threshold is 100. All items are scored 1 to 7, with higher scores reflecting greater camouflaging. So, anything over 100 would be classed as the threshold for somebody who is camouflaging. Because we all naturally camouflage, this is the thing. We all naturally mask in situations, so it's very. I mean, that's quite a strong. It's quite up there, 162 to when the highest you can get is 175. So, I'm not going to read through the other bits that were there, because there's just a lot of information there. I think that gives you a lot of different scenarios of potentially what it was, but we're talking about. Compensation subtotal. Let's see whether we can actually find what that means. So 9 statements of compensation. There's 8 that are masking and 8 statements that are assimilation. So, Research shows robust psychometric support for the CAT-Q. High internal consistency was found for the total scale, and it's giving scales and things here, right? Okay. Yeah. So, what did it? So go back down. Anyway, that's that. I'm just going to make a very long video if I start going through all of that. So I think with compensation, it's like compensating, how you compensate for your perceived social inept way of thinking. Masking is very clear, masking, and assimilation, I believe, is that actually copying, and I think that's what it is there. So compensation is changing behaviour, masking is covering up behaviour, and assimilation is copying behaviour. So you're assimilating the other person. So they're all quite high scores there. So I'd be really interested to see what everybody else gets. Like with all of my videos, I really would like people to comment on them and to say how they have experienced these things, and if you do these tests, I'd love to hear what your scores were on it, and also what you sort of feel about these. I'd love to hear people's opinions on them, and I'd love that to sort of be shared, like I say, in a community. my end goal, that's me hoping, is that these videos will, because I feel like they are just me sat chatting. I'm not trying to be a presenter of any sort. I just want to share this information with other people. So I'm hoping that's what other people feel that they can do and that they want to do. That I want people to really sort of talk to each other and give each other as much advice as possible, within reason, and sharing things like this and understanding how other people who are like us are living their lives and how they're getting through things and how they deal with situations. I really would like that to be the case. Eventually, it's going to take time. The fact that I've taken myself, that I am completely off social media, which I'm going to have to maybe rethink, but doing it from a one autistic person situation rather than it being my own. I don't want to be on social media. Well, that's a whole different ball game. I don't know why I'm going down that route now, but I don't want to be personally on social media anymore. But it might be a thing for me to do that. And I'm looking at creating a blog and things. So there's a bigger picture coming. I just need to get around to it. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. And like I say, please comment, share, subscribe. I would be over the moon if any of you did that, and share any information that you want about your experiences with the diagnosis process, these tests, if you've done any of them, anything like that. Just please feel free to use the comment section and feedback to me on how you think these videos are going. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.